Here's an updated video on the 69 Charger. Some kind of before and after pictures throughout this video. There is some work on the roof later on in the middle of the video about straightening out the window openings and that type of thing. Also a section taking the floor out, the back seat of the floor, and a couple sections in front of the back seat. So if you're interested, you could watch that, maybe learn a couple things from anything I've gone through. Straightened out the original bumper. Again, it's not even a good core bumper, but I'm going to straighten it out and just use it for now. So that felt kind of neat to replace or to save a piece that was original to this car. I'm trying to use as many original parts as I can for now. There's a lot of my car that's missing, but at least the parts that are there I'm going to try to use. And what else? This valance took a lot of work. I probably spent 3 to 4 hours just on the bumper and the valance, straightening them out, but it was actually kind of enjoyable.
Just saying, this piece is not getting thrown away.
That's the factory green paint there, and the Earl Shed special on top of it.
J-bolt or whatever that's broken off, but that's fixable. This light's nice, in good shape. Even the back side of it's in good shape. And at the swap meet last week, I got one to replace this one. It's pretty well done. Pretty broken. And I got hooked up with this one right here for 20 bucks. Whoa, 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 easy. So I got a nice replacement for this driver's side one here. $20. In good shape. This bumper down here is coming along. It's never going to be the same down here, but it's going to be straight enough. I'm going to take it back over to the press right now, do some more work.
All right, hey, just back at it here. I've taken about a month off from working on this. I've had a lot of bike racing things going on, and just coming back to finally getting this. You know, I bought these come-alongs like a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, and this is the setup I've invented to come up with pulling this roof down some more and getting these A-pillars back up just a little bit farther to make the doors shut better. I've got the doors shutting well, but what's happening is the driver's side window still, when this is on the passenger side, but on the driver's side it just comes down and the gap gets wider and wider and wider and kind of drops off to where there's almost a 1-inch gap right there. And so this is the last thing I'm doing to this. And I'll show you just kind of how much flex is in this. I've got the car sitting level on stands. This both come-alongs are through the floor down in here and then braced. I've got kind of a cribbing wrap. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a chain wrapped around some kind of 2.5 by 2.5 square. These are some pretty heavy walled tubes that go all the way across to the other side. Then I've got this block of 4x4 on the pinch weld of the body, so that it kind of disperses out the weight. And then that chain that's down here is through the floor that I'm replacing anyway, and then tied into the seat belt, the upper seat belt mount. So I want to pull this roof down without changing the floor of the car, because the floor and the seams down here are fine. And then also with the porta power, push each. All right, taking the floor out was something I haven't done in quite a while. I did an old Ford pickup a long time ago, but it was more of a repair job than actually kind of restoring something. The cool thing about this car is it didn't have a lot of rust, like inside the rear frame rails. When that got taken off of there, the frame rails were just clean inside. It was just full of dust and dirt. It all vacuumed out and everything's, all the drain holes are in good shape. So the floor section is going to be kind of a challenge to do, because I don't know how I'm going to graft it in at the back by the trunk yet, above the rear axle, or if I'm going to, you know, like butt seam it up against some of the original metal that's still good, or replace that whole panel. I'm not sure yet. As you'll see in this picture here, where the seat belts start, that metal's all in good shape. So even though I've got the whole panel, I'm kind of
tempted to leave the original back part of that panel. So I don't know, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, inside of there, everything was clean. Light surface rust, but super strong. The driver's frame rail on the rear there, that one right there, is up about almost 3/4 of an inch higher than it's supposed to be, maybe at least a half an inch. And so you'll see at the end of this video some work I was doing to straightening that out. That was tricky to do, pulling that frame rail down. Crazy. These floor parts that I got, those are from AMD. There's a left and a right floor right behind the driver's seat and passenger seat. The quality of those seemed really good. They've got the stamp on them that says they're certified Mopar parts for whatever that's worth to anybody. And then the whole floor pan under the back seat is the same way. The quality of the material and the gauge seems really good. The fit is nice too. So for what that's worth. The back taillights look so nice on this car now. Remember that back valance was out about where the taillights are at. That stuck out about 6 or 7 inches from the back of the car. The trunk lid, as you can tell, is pretty hashed. Those are like $700. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. Obviously, I'm probably going to save it for a while. Deal with it later. There's our neighbor's peacock. So this subframe, well, what do you call this? Support bracket for the spring is not even really attached to the sheet metal. These spot welds from the factory were just broke loose or stressed out and came loose. So this is all detached. So this is actually good because there's a couple of wrinkles right here and then another one here. These 2 layers of sheet metal need to be pulled backwards that way, the back of the car. And as well, maybe just straighten out a little bit. This will help this bracket come down. And then I'll weld it all back together. So that's the plan. All right, well, here it is, July 25th. Working on the left rear frame rail after work here on a Wednesday night, hot afternoon. This is what's going on. I haven't been able to do this at my shop at the house, so I brought it over here to my business, and what I'm working on here is trying to lower that left rear frame rail about a half an inch. And so I don't know if you can see that. I suppose you can kind of see that. Right up here, this frame rail, driver's side, this whole arm needs to come down about a half an inch. It's had some prior damage right up in here. There's a buckle in the rocker panel. And then there's a little one right up in here too. It's kind of hard to see, but that's what's going on. So I've got the floor cut out from just behind the front seats all the way to the pinion. This frame rail on the passenger side is perfect. I don't see any damage to this. This is nice and level. All the brackets for the spring perches are straight and true. There's no issues back in here. But on the driver's side, it's a little too high. Right now I've got pressure on it, and that's kind of where I started this video, but this needs to be bent up a little bit, and then the whole arm needs to be come down so it'll match up with this floor right here. And I've got the floor pieces to put in. So while this is under pressure, I just thought I'd take a video of it, show you what I rigged up here. Get out from under this trailer. So this is the setup. Trailer that I borrowed from a friend. And I pulled this thing on an offset just a little bit so I can pull down without hurting my hoist. There's really no pressure on these arms. I just set the car right down onto this 4x4, onto that 2x6, onto a cross section of this trailer, and I've got jack stands underneath it to support even that. So really there's not a lot of pressure on anything that has to do with the trailer or the hoist. And then I use these 4x4 steel squares underneath the pinch well just to support the car. And I lowered the hoist right down to where it's just touching this 4x4 post. And then I just put a crap ton of pressure on it with this come along for now. And I'm gonna set the camera here just to get a visual on how much pressure might be on that. We'll see if this works. That might work. I'm gonna let the pressure off this for a second. So that's with no pressure on it. This board, it's got a little bit. I can't move it. It's pretty stiff. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to put so much pressure on this, it's gonna scare me. I wish I could pull out here. I might have to rig up a jig. I'm just wrapped around a front spring perch here. But that's pretty much a direct pull. I really need to be out here, so I'm gonna have to rig that up a little differently. And then eventually these pieces of sheet metal that are bent on the spring perch, I'll straighten those out as well. Anyhow, there's a crap ton of pressure on that right now. Just took to run this. I'm a little nervous about that, to be honest. I think it's okay. I just want to pull my car off the hoist or do something strange, but it seems like it's all right. And I think what I'll do now, oh, and then I also have these jacks back here just to stabilize the trailer. So the trailer is pretty much like a flat platform that doesn't move. And I'll take some measurements, but to be honest, I wish this would stay in right here. So since if I let the pressure off this come along right now, it'd spring right back to where it was. I'll end up taking some heat and I'm gonna massage this piece back into shape a little bit, take a little pressure off of this, probably rework that panel in there just a little bit and back in here. And that'll hopefully stress relieve this enough to lower it. But I can see visually that that's about exactly where I want it to be. And talk to you later. Bye. Okay, so that worked out really well. Working from the front spot welds that were damaged or disconnected basically, and just slowly bending the metal back. I didn't have to use any heat, just used slap dollies and some pry bars, and then you would just start on one spot weld and keep working your way back and straightening things as you go, and it brought that spring perch, everything lined up really nice. I was really super happy with how it turned out. That's kind of the globbly weld there, but it's going to turn out nice when it's all done. That was a folded part of the metal that straightened out. So anyhow, everything's nice and strong now, and I was really surprised how it went back into the right spots where it was supposed to be. It's amazing how many spot welds are in these cars. The whole car is spot welded together. It's really, you know, these cars were never designed to be rebuilt, I don't think, back in the 60s and 70s. They were just designed to be on the road for 10 years and then be parted out or scrapped or something. But I'm pretty sure nobody back then thought these cars were going to be around 50 years later to, you know, be putting them through what we're doing with them now. So I'm glad that we've got the tools and the products available to even think about restoring these somewhat. All right, you guys have a good one. I'll try to keep up some videos in the future. Have a good night.